Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. Welcome back to Channel on Bushka. Thanks for watching. This is going to be a really cool video. This is a video about the Mark 47 Mutant, this big dog here, and the M16A4, this lovely looking lady just on the left of the screen. Now, I want to talk about these two guns in particular because there's a real, they're mystery guns for PUBG Mobile. They're very, very tough to pin down on the positives and the negatives, why you should run them. And it's a bit weird because if you've got an AR in the game, it's the most solid kind of gun you can get a hold of. And yet, they're so rarely run as primary ARs, primary weapon slots. Like you have your Kar 98 in your secondary slot and your AR in your primary kind of thing. Now, there's two reasons for this. One of them is they're very, very, very high in terms of skill level. The floor to make these ceilings work is up here. The floor to make these ceilings work. The floor to get these guns to work effectively is way higher than an M416. Like, it's just a joke. Like, M416 versus this thing is ridiculous. You can hold down the button on M416, spray and pray, and do a whole lot of good stuff. Like, look at this. This is, I've played these guns into the ground, right? And you can see it's so hard, particularly with the Mark 47 Mutant. If we slow that down, a moving target at like 75 meters, 100 meters is torture to hit. Like, especially if you're like at 100 plus ping like I am, it becomes just, until they start firing at you, they're not stationary, and it's really, really hard to hit them. Whereas with an M416, you just go, you spray it everywhere. Really tough. And the Mark 47 Mutant particularly is difficult with that because its recoil is off the charts. I mean, it can mount a vertical foregrip, and I would mount a vertical foregrip with it if I was you, or a light grip, or a half grip, any grip at all, like, is going to help you. But you've still got to tap that out, and that means you've got to use one finger or thumb to tap and one thumb to guide the weapon around, and that's very tough to do unless you're a claw player like me, where you can run claw, like you're moving around, aiming and shooting and all that kind of stuff with different parts of the screen, and that makes it a lot easier. Or if you're a trigger user, which you're not meant to be apparently, but I don't know. Or if you're a hacking emulator user, which apparently there's a few of them around. And that makes the gun easy to use. Or you're a gyroscope user. You know, there's ways around it. But for the most part, if you're just a stock standard thumb player, you're not going to get the most out of it. Where the Mark 47 Mutant works is in close quarters. CQC, it's really good. Like, it'll dump a lot of damage for you. Its base round is 45. It's the same kind of base round as a Mini has. Like, 45 damage on a Mini 14 is the number. 45 damage to a chest area that doesn't have a vest on is the number there. There's a guy wearing a crow suit. I'm wearing a crow suit. Hardly ever happens. Take note, universe. Spin on your axis. The M16A4, however, is a 5.56 round, so it's got a base damage of 40. All the 5.56 ARs, same exact base damage, 40 rounds into a chest area, right? Now, that's without a vest on. Obviously, once you put a vest into it, it gets difficult. This is where it really gets tough. I've had people in all the comments, and usually when I do these things, I'll put a section up in my community page and say, hey, ask me things about the M16A4 and everything, and we'll answer them on, and then I'll bring up the comments and all that. But there's a patch coming at 0.15, the update there, and the M16 and the Mutant are going to get tech stocks, which should really change things. Really change things. Well, that's the word on the street anyway. You never know until things drop as to what they're going to be. And so I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole because I'm going to have to do individual reviews on both these guns again very, very shortly. But a lot of people talk about this gun, particularly the M16A4, in glowing terms as a long-range weapon. And I've got to say, I think people are very, very confused. Like, I've had lots of posts about people saying there's guys firing this thing at burst at 200 meters. And I'm not trying to speak ill of my subscribers because you guys are the best, but you need to understand that 200 meters is a long freaking way away. You can't hit people further than, say, 320 meters. Like, people won't even render. So that's 2/3 of the max render range. The kind of distances you're looking at 200 meters in all the kind of gameplay I had was full firing either of these weapons at 200 on burst. You're only really ever hitting with one, maximum of 2 rounds. Now, back in the day, the 3 rounds of the M16A4 used to be very, very close in their groupings. So at range, you could hit the M16A4 up for some phenomenal long-range stuff. It was a joke. And you can see in this passage of play, I found that the M16A4 was very, very effective as a close range to mid-range weapon. Like mid-range is like 150, right? If you're firing this thing at 150 and you're on full burst, you're not going to hit all your shots. You just won't. And I've seen all the crazy video clips of particular players doing incredible recoil control on single tap with the M16A4. And yeah, it exists. But I mean, Usain Bolt will run the 100 in under 10 seconds, but I'm not about to go and do it. Just because I run a lot doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to play the same way as Usain Bolt can run. Like, it's crazy that people keep coming up with this stuff like, there's a Chinese guy who's like the number one, and this isn't crazy, okay? This is not crazy. Like, what I'm saying is, because some of these comments, like Aramas say, came up with some brilliant stuff on the M16 on the community threads, right? There's like a Chinese guy who's the top fragger in the world, and he uses the M16A4 over just about everything else, and controls the recoil and smashes people. Well, I mean, like, that's great, but let's be honest here. If everyone was that good, everyone would be using the same things and be killing everyone, and we'd all be that good. And it's just not the case. So what we're talking about here is as a baseline. We're trying to talk about the guns as a baseline where the standard player is going to be. And although the baseline for PUBG Mobile players has certainly gone up, we're going up, we're getting better. It's by no means the rule. And the rule for this gun is that it is easier to control in terms of recoil than the Mark 47 Mutant, which has 2 taps and it's very, very hard, but it's not easy to control in terms of recoil. Like, you can see once you get good at it, like this, you can keep the gun down because it's a lighter round. The 40 damage 5.56 round is a lighter round, and I can control it because I've had practice and I'm a core player. But if you start using this thing way out, the gun, quite literally by its very nature, it hits around here, and another round up here, and they won't all land, okay? You just can't do that, not while moving and seeing, well, most players can't anyway. And let's be honest here, we're talking about you and me. The guys that can do that, they're not watching this video to find out how to play PUBG Mobile. Like, it's like asking a professional soccer player like Lionel Messi, what YouTuber do you watch to find out how to dribble? Like, get wrecked. He's got that down. He's handling that. His business is under control. There's something else that you need to understand with these guns. Okay. It's very, very hard, and this is why I say the skill level is incredibly high. It's very, very hard to max out the time to kill on these because you can fire 5 or 6 rounds off with the M16 or the Mutant in about 0.45 seconds, right? Which is incredibly broken. That's really, really fast. The chances of them all hitting are super slight, and the chances of like landing them all on the one target at anything apart from directly in front of you are super slim. That's where they're best. Like in CQC, if you can land all 3 of the rounds in this or the Mutant and then hit another couple very quickly after that, you'll sink people. Like this is against an Uzi. I had no vest on. He shot me with an Uzi, which is one of the fastest time to kill SMGs and guns in the game, and yet I took all the damage in the chest and I still cleared the guy quicker than he could get me done. That's the perfect scenario when the M16A4 works a treat. I don't know what this guy was doing. Like, he completely missed me. Thank God. Like, he had me down stone cold. Stone cold Steve Austin. When you press the button, if you just tap it as fast as you can, it won't give you the fastest rate of fire. There is a safeguard on that. Now, the reason there's a safeguard should be fairly obvious. If you are running up against hackers or emulator players who could click a mouse really quickly or run a script to make a gun fire faster than its maximum rate of fire, which would be possible if it was just up to how quickly you hit the button, the M16A4 would be the gun that all hackers use because they could just script up, you know, to clear the clip in 0.1 of a second, like, all gone. You can't do that. Thank God. Much better that you can't do that. What you can do is max it out. I think it's every 0.09 of a second or something. You can get, or 0.010 of a second, I could get a round off. But it's not a maximum thing. Like, you can't just smash it really, really fast because sometimes you'll miss the interval and that will slow down your rate of fire. Now, let's break down which is the better gun, okay? The best gun for me is the M16A4 by miles. It works and is versatile in so many different theaters of war. The barrel has an inferior shell velocity, so it's harder to lead targets. It has to do it in 2-round bursts, and the recoil is still brutal, so it's harder to keep your gun online. And even in single tap mode, it only has a 45 round plus all that recoil with a lower shell velocity. You can tap the crap out of the M16A4 and it will absolutely not rise up anywhere near that. Whereas you tap the crap out of the barrel, it's going to be climbing to the stars. And for that, you just run a Mini 14 anyway, because if you're single tapping a gun, the Mini 14's got the same, absolutely the same base damage numbers, super high shell velocity, much lighter recoil, and has the same magazine size. So Mini 14 would beat it, beat it like a stick every time out of the barrel, out of the gate. Watch how quick I snap to this guy on the top right-hand corner of this screen. Bang, bang. And look at that. That's when all those rounds land. That guy just fell over like a sack of spuds. When all the rounds land, and in CQC like this, like both these guns in CQC, when all the rounds hit, wow, it is a harsh and brutal rebalance for the guys on the wrong end of the pointy thing. You can see here, this is a guy, like, love desync, but he didn't get to say anything more than that. Like, the M16 can do that. I hope you guys like this general talk through. I love doing these kind of videos, and I love really looking at the ins and the outs of the guns. M16 is better for me in CQC, in mid-range, and in the long range as a single tap DMR replacement. It also has 2 of the coolest skins in the game, and I don't have a Mark 47 Mutant skin at all. This skin from Royal Pass Season 9, and the skin that you see often, it's like a Cloud 9 skin that Choco Taco runs all the time on his M16, which I've been using because I'm a massive Choco Taco fanboy. Shout out to the Taco! I'm going to go do a thing! Give me an Impossible Burger! I still, like, every time I put my son to bed and I go in there and I'm talking, he's going, Dad, let's watch Choco Taco. Put Choco Taco on. You know I love you, Dad, but Choco Taco is the dude. Anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. Remember to subscribe and like. It really helps me. Share the videos if you would. That'd be great. And until next time, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.